You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
You know, we have the chief of staff for President Obama is an old friend of mine and my husband's, and was in the White House when Bill was there, and he said, you know, never waste a good crisis.
This crisis also presents an opportunity. It's a catalyst.
Tonight we are following up on the City of Aurora's plans to close an apartment complex that houses a large population of new immigrants. And they're closing it because of code violations. Some believe, though, there's more to the story. They say it involves a South American gang. Denver 7's Brandon Richards shows us how city officials are responding to those accusations.
Well, if you've been on social media here in the last couple of weeks, you may have seen a lot of information being shared about a Venezuelan gang that people say is causing all kinds of problems in Aurora. Well, this morning we learned APD has set up a task force to look into those allegations. The city of Aurora says it's closing this apartment complex near Colfax and Peoria due to a long list of code violations going back years.
We are not buying this.
Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky and some of her colleagues believe there's more to the story.
We believe that, yes, there are code violations, but this started because of a gang takeover. That's what we believe.
The company that manages the site says the same thing, that a gang from Venezuela had taken over the property, making it too dangerous for their staff to be there. Aurora police have not said whether those claims are true, but say they are investigating.
I know it's been shootings here, but it's not because of people from here. It's people from other places that comes here looking for problems.
Residents at the complex told us no manager has been on site for a while.
We've been trying to get in touch with the manager. He quit, and we have no manager.
At a public safety meeting Thursday, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman once again pointed to code violations as the reason the city was closing the complex.
I know that the owners are talking about that it's a gang issue. It's really, the problems there go way back.
On top of creating a task force to look into alleged gang activity, Aurora police say they've also started reviewing criminal reports from the past year to see if they were gang related.
So we're actively looking at those things right now in conjunction with the task force, our federal and state partners also.
Councilwoman Jurinsky says it's long overdue.
I think it's coming maybe 6 to 8 months too late, but I hope that we are able to track some of these people down.
But she hopes it will finally provide some answers. In Aurora, Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
And that gang that some claim has taken over that property was designated as a transnational criminal organization by the White House last month. And today, an ICE spokesman told Denver 7 they are aware of recent violent crime involving members of that gang and say they are working with partner law enforcement agencies.
Tonight, a home invasion in Aurora, all of it caught on camera. Multiple armed suspects break into a home with 2 children inside, posing as delivery drivers. Fox 31 speaking with those victims. Our Talia Cunningham is in studio with their message and more of some of that dramatic new video. All new at 9. Talia.
Yeah, Erica, dramatic is right. Some terrifying moments for a family in Aurora. So the crime was caught on Ring doorbell camera, and it all starts right here with this guy. He's wearing like a worker's reflective vest, and he's holding a package, posing as a delivery driver. Clearly he isn't. That package is empty. He then rings the doorbell and waits for someone to answer. Someone does, and then this.
It all happened in a matter of seconds. What you just saw was that man pushing the door open and forcing himself inside the home. And then 2 other men with guns rush inside. After only 1 minute, the men then run out, pile into a car, and race down the street. A caretaker and 2 young children were inside the home at the time, and as you can imagine, a traumatic experience for all of them. When authorities arrived, one of the children, a 6-year-old boy, visibly shaken. His mom and dad claim the suspects hit their son and caretaker, pushing him to the ground, and inappropriately touched their 14-year-old daughter. The incident happened on Wednesday, June 12th at 8:45 p.m. in a neighborhood on South Richfield Street. Police say this was a robbery as well, with personal items, mostly jewelry and cash, stolen. Although the parents weren't home at the time, they dialed 911 immediately after being notified by the Ring video, telling us they're scared.
El dinero, las joyas se recuperan.
This mother says it's not about the material things stolen because they can be replaced. It's about the trauma her young children were put through. She adds they spent that night in the hospital getting the kids checked out after allegedly being assaulted.
And tonight, Aurora police are investigating this crime and do believe that this family was targeted because they run a business out of their own home. That husband tells us he's a barber and cuts hair, believing this was a crime of opportunity. So take a look here. It may be hard to tell, but if you recognize any of these three men or know anything about this crime, you're asked to call Aurora police immediately. In studio tonight, Talia Cunningham, Fox 31.
Like I described, the wolf pack.
Savino says the suspects in these crimes are in large groups, what he calls wolf packs, like this mugging on August 1st. He says they take off with things like wallets, phones, and bags.
So you could imagine the feeling. Imagine the feeling of that individual, predominantly tourists or soft targets, sitting on a bench and then ultimately being victimized by these wolf pack type robberies. It's tremendously concerning, and it's a new phenomenon not only to Central Park, but really to the area.
He says many of the suspects in these crimes live in city-run migrant shelters, and their average age is just 15. Police arrested an 11-year-old Tuesday night after he allegedly stole a phone from someone on the number 7 train. Assistant Chief Savino says the same kid was seen on video using credit cards stolen during a robbery in Central Park.
Although they're very young, very impressionable, they do have a big influence on this group, and that's something we haven't really readily seen. It's one of the first times I've ever seen it in my career.
Well, another tool that the NYPD plans on using are drones. We're told those will be deployed later this month. But again, for the time being, if you are in Central Park, especially after sunset, they say between that time and 1 a.m., that is when the crimes are occurring.
U.S. officials are on high alert as a notoriously violent prison gang is spreading from coast to coast. Tren de Aragua, or TDA, was born out of Venezuela in a prison and has been linked to crime like this jewelry store heist in Colorado. News Nation obtaining a memo warning law enforcement that an estimated 1,000 TDA members have been given the green light to attack officers. News Nation's Alicia Nieves joins us now live from New York, where these gang members have actually shot at police. Alicia, how widespread is this gang?
Yeah, Anna, good morning. This is a violent Venezuelan gang. It's infiltrated U.S. cities across the country from coast to coast, becoming more brazen and organized, according to authorities. In just the last 2 months, we have had at least 3 major incidents on the West Coast and here back on the East Coast. Just this past week, as a matter of fact, authorities have linked a member of Tren de Aragua's gang members to a violent June jewelry heist in Denver. In nearby Aurora, Colorado, the gang is accused of taking control of a local apartment complex, using it as headquarters of their operation. And the footage you're seeing in a second here actually shows lawyers, or what lawyers representing several apartment complexes say is the gang seizing control of these apartment complexes, leading to gang violence and numerous code violations. Now, throughout the country, police departments, as you noted a moment ago, warned that the gang leaders have given members in the U.S. the green light to shoot officers. And unfortunately, that memo coming after an incident happened already here in New York City in June. As you said a moment ago, 2 NYPD officers were shot by a man living out of a migrant shelter. That man, Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, after his arrest, actually identified himself as a member of Tren de Aragua and allegedly told police that he crossed the U.S. border, came to New York, and when he got to the shelter in the city, the 19-year-old was recruited by the gang to commit robberies and even given a gun. Now, Castro Mata also told investigators that gang leaders actually have been instructing a lot of their members here in the U.S., especially here in New York City, to bring guns into shelters, and they're able to do so relatively easily by utilizing food delivery services because food is not scanned through the security system at these shelters. So this is obviously a growing concern, not only here in New York City, but again, across the country from the West Coast to the East Coast. We do know federal agencies are on this and trying to work with local officials to curb this growing gang activity.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like if that's the weak spot, they need to start scanning the food trucks then as they're coming through. Alicia, thank you so much.
I need this message to go out to our vice president who's running for president. I have heard all over social media about, excuse me if I say anything wrong, immigrants getting loans, money. It was hard for me to believe. It was just extremely hard for me to believe. I've been in business such a long time. Back in 2019, I purchased my first food truck. It cost me over $25,000. I paid it cash money. I worked hard to pay for this truck. I'm now selling it because I'm doing other things, but I'm selling it. I had a guy come to look at purchasing my vehicle, or my food truck, and he explained to me he's an illegal immigrant. He has no credit. He has no money in the bank. But he showed me his paperwork that he will receive funds to purchase my food truck. I'm thankful that he's buying it, but I'm hurt that I worked so hard to pay cash for my food truck. I have good credit, can't even get a business loan because of the color of my skin. I have veterans in my family. I'm a veteran. I've been self-employed for so long. But somebody, please tell me, how do I work so hard to have somebody who comes to this country, not long, no credit, and he shows me paperwork where they'll be funding him money to buy my food truck. And when I talked to the bank, they told me usually they have to go straight to a dealership because I'm a private sale. But for special circumstances, they're going to, they allow it. But I need my president to tell me why I worked so hard all these years, all these decades. Couldn't get a business loan, but I bust my ass to get the money to create my business. And we got immigrants coming here. And they're getting money. Money! We're doing nothing but just being here. It's not right, and I want answers.
This is still one of the most moving things for me. The week after I was elected in 2006, that giant ice raid happened in Worthington. I drove out to Worthington as the congressman-elect, went into the basement of the Catholic Church where Father Brixus was, who asked me to look around at all the children were crying. He said, this is what terrorism looks like in America today. And he was very concerned. And then when they found out, they tried to explain who I was. People were trying to leave. And what I told them at that time is I said, I hold the voting card in my pocket, and the votes I will take will be to make sure that we protect these folks. So right now, more than ever, please don't give up on comprehensive immigration reform. Please keep telling the story. Please keep understanding that the vast majority of our neighbors understand this. And you know what? You can say this message with every sovereign nation has the right to control its border in a legal manner. We should do that. But what we need to be very clear with our neighbors about is that there is no line for people to go get into. There is no opportunity to come in legally. And the folks that are here, you tell me that this is the nation that the gentleman talked about what our founders had. We're not originalists. We believe that we continue to grow towards a more perfect union. I have a gentleman in the 1st District who was here and was on an extent. His visa expired. He stayed. He created a life here. He had no criminal record. He had 22 years of adding to our community, had jobs. He did not have permanent legal status to be here. His 2 young daughters were assaulted. He went to the police to tell them he was arrested and deported, and not the thing that that's not who we are. And so when people try and tell you sanctuary cities are ways for people to violate laws, Our police are serving us and protecting our communities. Our citizens need to know that if they go to the police to report a crime either against themselves or someone else, that they're going to be protected to be able to do that. And our police don't ask immigration status because it's not their job to do that. Their job is to protect them. So, whatever you say,
I would just add, I too would not give up on comprehensive immigration reform yet. Just 4 years ago, there was a bill that the Senate was proposing, and then the world went to hell. So we will take the world back, and we will be able to stand up for our neighbors and invite them into this country. And I will tell you, I stood on the stage at Inver Hills Community College last night, and I watched the best of America. I watched America walk across that stage. And that particular college is about a 35% immigrant community, 35% people of color. It's just the most amazing thing in the world. So I haven't given up. I will tell you that, watch what we say, but also watch what we do.
A major data breach in April has led to billions of personal data worldwide being compromised. 12 News' Jalen Anderson spoke to experts in cybersecurity on how you can protect your information.
In April, the U.S. DoD hacking group stole records from National Public Data, a company that offers personal information to employers and others who issue background checks. Reportedly, over 400 million consumers could be affected. The Mississippi Cyber Team unit says two-factor authentication could help save your information.
Cyber threat actors are very adept at scraping information from the public sector and piecing the puzzles together. Multi-factor is important because what that does, even if the adversary can figure out your password, they can brute force it on a password dictionary against it. If they don't have the MFA code that comes to your phone or to your computer, they can't complete the connection and get into your account. So multi-factor authentication is extremely, I would call it critical, if not one of the most critical things you can use.
Equifax, Experian, TransUnion are credit bureaus who offer ways to freeze your credit and monitor it on a daily basis. Experts say hackers and scammers only need a couple of seconds to access your information.
So having a service that can monitor that information is always good. Knowing is better than not knowing. So they should be concerned, but if you have the layers of protection, you're checking your credit file, don't respond to phone calls or messages from people because all they have to do is take 10 seconds of your voice print and they can clone your voice.
Staying up to date on cyber news is a precaution consumers should all take serious.
I think it's extremely important because it gives you some situational awareness. To me, it's no different than a traffic alert that we get in the mornings on I-20, 220, 55 and all that, because you got to know where you're going in the car and what the situation's like. So it's also good as you're going over a network, in essence, traveling through the internet, to know what kind of security risks there are and what's been going on, and if you're susceptible, you feel like some of your assets might be susceptible.
Experts say if you expect your information is compromised, to contact your local authorities. They also suggest freezing your credit profile before any harm can be done. Reporting in Jackson, Jalen Anderson, 12 News.
Hackers have stolen the social security number of every American. There's been a data breach. Around 2.9 billion records stolen. And here's the crazy part. Apparently, it affects every American. Somebody acquired access to a bunch of very important information. The hackers become aware of this. This news spreads through a forum. The hackers then extract said information, addresses, social security numbers, criminal records, aliases, and now somebody can put 2 and 2 together and get 4. Our brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom and Canada are also being affected by this. This could be a whole bunch of nothing. At this point, you can have it. But the speculation is this is the beginning of the digital ID.
Number 8, we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens, never happens. Hillary Clinton, all talk. Unfortunately, when there is action, it's always the wrong decision. Do you ever notice? In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, It will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system. Number 9, we will turn off the jobs and benefits magnet. We will ensure that E-Verify is used to the fullest extent possible under existing law, and we will work with Congress to strengthen and expand its use across the country. Immigration law doesn't exist for the purpose of keeping criminals out. It exists to protect all aspects of American life: the work site, the welfare office, the education system, and everything else. That is why immigration limits are established in the first place. Number 10, we will reform legal immigration to serve the best interests of America and its workers, the forgotten people, workers. We're going to take care of our workers. And by the way, we're going to make great trade deals. We're going to renegotiate trade deals. We're going to bring our jobs back home. We're going to bring our jobs back home.
Good morning and welcome to Outsiders, the show that is to woke virtue signalling and out of control lefty identity politics what cash is to our individual freedoms.
The key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Yes, it appears that the United Nations is very keen to introduce a global digital ID system that is linked to individuals' bank accounts. The plan is outlined in 3 new policy briefs from the UN titled A Global Digital Compact, Reforms to the International Finance Architecture, and the Future of Outer Space Governance.
Outer space governance, you say, Rita? Well, the policies outlined are very similar to certain World Economic Forum ideas. And I quote, should I do the Klaus Schwab voice?
Why not?
Digital IDs linked with bank or mobile money accounts may improve the delivery of social protection programs.
Was that Klaus?
I was Klaus.
Like Klaus,
yeah, I wonder if they mean social protection programs like, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe this one.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoking emergency powers against the truckers who are protesting vaccine mandates. Banks can now freeze their personal accounts, the accounts of anyone linked to the Freedom Convoy.
The Canadian banks the ability to freeze bank accounts without a warrant of anyone participating in this road blockade, as well as anybody funding it. And if trucks are blocking the road, they can suspend the insurance of those truckers.
Yes, the goal is to advance United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, you'll remember him, the socialist, his vision for the future, God help us, which could well be given the green light in September 2024 during an event which will be called the Summit for the Future. Can't wait.